Ladies and gentlemen, yesterday I covered the story of Mr. Jonas being denied access to America because his diplomatic visa was rejected by the United States. This was alleged by the Democratic Alliance. Since then, the media, who normally would run defense for the ANC, also had to come out and corroborate a lot of these claims, although some of them have not yet corroborated it because they're media. Why would they investigate any sort of wrongdoing? Hey, just before we get going, I would love to ask you to just hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you aren't subscribed already. YouTube recently made a change. I told you guys about this before, and I apologize that I have to continuously go over this, but the YouTube change effectively only now counts engaged viewers. They want people to move away from clickbait in order to just deliver good quality content, which is what I try to do. I try to inform you guys as much as possible. So if you find what I do informative, please consider hitting the like, letting me know in the comment section down below what you think, even if it is just to support, so that I can keep doing this and more people hopefully can get a rational view of what South Africa is all about and what is happening in this great country of ours. Thank you. Bye. Our esteemed President, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, has come out and he has condemned the DA in the strongest terms. And yes, it is as stupid and silly as it sounds. Let me just move my camera over to that side so that you guys can actually read along. So, the president cautions South Africans against treating the Democratic Alliance's information on matters of international relations. He then says the DA's latest efforts to embarrass President Cyril Ramaphosa's special envoy to North America, which previously Mr. Jonas was actually supposed to be to America, but that changed to North America after the ANC found out that he will not be allowed to go into the United States. In the DA's, so according to them, it's the DA's framing that says that he was denied access to America. They then go on to say that envoys do not require to account publicly for the work they undertake. The president's own accounts of his performance include elements facilitated by envoys. Mr. Jonas's outreach does not in any way supersede the leading role played by the Department of Trade, Industry, and Competition. Okay, so Mr. Jonas was elected. This is after our ambassador was expelled from the country. He was elected to go and be the guy that now saves us from the looming tariffs coming from the Trump administration. Why would you need a special envoy to America in the place of the ambassador being expelled? But this guy isn't allowed to be in the United States. And by the way, the president admits this right here, where he says, President Ramaphosa has not had a need for Mr. Jonas to visit the United States on urgent business. I again bring you back. The ambassador is declared persona non grata by the Trump administration. The ambassador is then expelled from America. We now need a new diplomatic relationship with the United States, and Mr. Jonas is fingered by the president in order to be that man for us. So Mr. Jonas had no place in the government, had no reason to be in the government, but has now been appointed as the special envoy for the president. But the special envoy for the president to the United States has not been to the United States because the president doesn't need him in the United States, because the president is making use of the Department of Trade and Industry. What the hell is going on, right? This is super, super weird. But then our esteemed president, I'll just show you his face there so you can puke a little. But our esteemed president goes on to say that the campaign has its origins in a Democratic Alliance visit to the United States. So basically, this has nothing to do with us and our malfeasance and malmanagement of the country. This has to do with the DA. And according to them, the DA has positioned itself as part of a right-wing nexus. Dude, only a super far-left communist asshole would call the DA a right-wing party. They are not right-wing. I am conservative. I am right-wing. The DA stands on principle on very few things that I would agree with politically. Economically, politically, socially, there are very few agreements between myself and the Democratic Alliance. So calling them right-wing is insane, right? That seeks to use a foreign state to effect changes to democratically develop national policies in our own country. So playing the race card effectively once again. The DA is trying cheaply but dangerously to exploit a critical engagement between South Africa and the United States to protest President Cyril Ramaphosa's removal of Andrew Whitfield as Deputy Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition. So effectively, what the president is doing here, and this is really the game we're in now, both the ANC and the DA are desperately trying to figure out who's going to blink first. The DA wants to get out of the GNU, but if they leave the GNU on their own at their own accord, the South African public might be a little peeved at that. The ANC wants the DA out of the GNU, but unless they can find an actual good reason to expel the DA from the GNU, and a reason that actually makes them look not too shabby, the ANC can't just get rid of the DA. So this by the president really is a sort of desperate attempt to try and smear the DA as almost like a rogue entity. This borders on terrorism, at least, of the verbal kind, shall we say. Because the president of South Africa is effectively accusing the DA of trying to use America in order to enact a coup here in South Africa. By that, if the president is successful in selling that narrative, he could get rid of the DA, but more importantly, he could actually then lock up and destroy the DA as an organization because they're a terrorist threat. They're not supposed to be in the country. This kind of makes sense when you realize that we covered this yesterday. The DA, for the first time in literally the history of the new South Africa, has beaten the ANC in the polls. For the first time ever, the DA is ahead of the ANC in polling. I think for the ANC, there is a realization dawning. They had hoped that being in the GNU, they'd be able to share the blame. They'd be able to continue governing. They'd be able to continue stealing and robbing. And maybe, and this is going to be super speculative, so, just bear with me here. But I kind of wonder if there wasn't a sort of mindset from the ANC that if they form this GNU and it doesn't really make the country better, it doesn't really save the country, the ANC can point to the GNU and be like, hey, look, South Africa, look what happens when you don't vote us into power. Look how bad things actually get. Because this scenario, while I realize it's completely speculative, it does sort of explain why the ANC has been hell-bent on making every single decision that is wrong for the country. So I think the ANC desperately wanted someone that they could blame all of the mistakes on and hopefully get into power that way. The issue that the ANC sits with is seemingly the South African public isn't falling for it. The South African public is blaming the ANC squarely for all of the problems in the country, which I think is, I don't think the ANC planned for that. I think that this is sort of a problem for them. They're losing in the polls. They're losing support. The DA seems to be gaining massive support now. And every single thing the ANC says is continuously it feels desperate. It genuinely feels like the ANC is beyond desperate at this point. But let me know in the comment section down below. What do you make of all of this? I'd love to read your thoughts. It's always super interesting to get your input into what is happening here. Hit the like if you liked it, if you didn't. And I'll see all of you in the next one. A peace.